Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here at today's important hearing. You know, 2023 is a tipping point for our nation. The U.S. is more than $33 trillion in debt, and we borrow more than $90,000 a second. This crisis has been decades in the making, and the key to solving this problem is reining in our spending. But it's essential that we implement tax policies to boost our economy, increasing our tax revenue and providing us the means to pay down our debt and reduce our bloated federal deficit. Crucially important means to boost our economic competitiveness and support a flourishing economy at home is a robust research and development sector. Private sector accounts for more than 75% of total research and development spending. For nearly 70 years, the tax codes allowed businesses to fully deduct their R&D expenses in the same year they incurred. However, since the beginning of 2022, businesses have been required to spread out or amortize R&D expenses for 5 years for domestic research and development or 15 years for foreign R&D. Since amortization took effect, the growth rate of R&D spending has slowed dramatically from 6.6% on average over the previous 5 years to less than 0.5% over the last 12 months. As companies spend far less on research and development, the sector is down by more than 14,000 jobs. 3/4 of the research and development spending is on wages and salaries, making R&D amortization primarily a jobs issue. To correct this issue, my friend and colleague, Congressman Larson, and I reintroduced the American Innovation and R&D Competitiveness Act on tax day this year. This straightforward bill allows for immediate expensing of eligible R&D costs, bringing us back to where we were a few short years ago and securing our dominance in research and development. This legislation will help businesses here in the United States and encourage economic development. Mr. Norquist, what negative effects have you seen as a result of the R&D amortization, and do you agree that restoring immediate R&D expensing will help spur the economic growth and jobs in the United States?
Yes, expensing on R&D and in fact all investment reduces the cost of that investment. As you point out, some people seem to think corporations pay taxes. People pay taxes. Consumers pay taxes. Workers get paid less. Companies spend about 70% and higher of the money they get on workers. So when you take $1 out of a corporation, 70% of it came out of the workers anyway. So getting these expensing, as we expense wages, expensing R&D, expensing investment, will increase the amount of investment you get, make people more productive, and grow the economy, which will allow us to hopefully grow away from the debt that we have now, as we did after World War II, but it does take restraint on spending.
And, you know, over the last few years, we've also seen the Biden administration lobby for tax policies that would harm the United States. We all need to loudly reject the harmful Pillar 2 tax scheme that the Biden administration has negotiated with the OECD. According to the Joint Committee on Taxation, worldwide implementation of the global minimum tax, as defined in Pillar 2, will cost the United States $120 billion in lost tax revenue. And if the United States is forced to change its tax code to comply with Pillar 2, it'll still lose $58 billion in revenue. This will lead to lower revenue for the United States Treasury and job losses for our workers and decreased investment in the United States. Mr. Norquist, I believe you mentioned and used the term cartel. But is it true that you view that Pillar 2 would encourage companies to shift profits and investments outside the United States, and how will that hurt the U.S. economy?
Well, we should be encouraging more investment in the United States, meaning don't tax it as heavily. It's not that the government can do things to help the economy, but it can stop doing things that damage it, and that in this world counts as helping the economy. When the government gets out of the way, things grow faster, wages go higher, people's life savings increase. The deals that the Biden administration have cut with the European governments at the expense of the people of Europe and the American people are extremely damaging. The cartel, the OPEC they want to set up for governments. We don't like OPEC for oil prices. I don't know why we like it for the price of government. I know why governments like it, and people who benefit from government like it. But to try and cut that deal, as he has, and the Europeans basically mowed and paid off all the members of the European Union who had objected, Ireland, Poland, Hungary, and now they're fine because they all got money. Nobody's paying us to shoot ourselves in the foot. We need to walk away loudly and clearly from the idea that we're going to let the Europeans or the Japanese or the Chinese or the Russians set our minimum tax rates. We hurt ourselves when we had a 35% rate for decades after everybody else had figured out that was way too high. We took it down to 21. We're still not above all the European, many other companies. We're at least a little bit below China now. Biden wants to take it to 28%, above China, put every American company at risk and less able to compete with China. You can either compete with lower taxes and less regulatory burden, or you can compete on lower wages. And Biden is putting us in the position of competing on lower wages, and you're in the have the opportunity to allow us to compete with lower taxes, not lower wages.
Thank you, and I'll yield back.